On today's episode of Car Litter, we're going to look at doing an oil change on a modern car. Now, as modern vehicles grow more and more complex, the common sense question is, can I still maintain this thing on my own? And fortunately, in the case of several cars, the answer is still yes. So here we have my 2017 Camaro SS1LE, and this is actually a fairly straightforward oil change. The hardest part of this oil change is actually lifting up the car so that you can do it. These cars are, in my opinion, absurdly heavy, which is crazy to think they're lighter than a Mustang and a Charger and Challenger, Hellcats, etc. Because that's scary. Like, this car is so heavy that I can feel the jack straining against its weight. And honestly, I need to buy a bigger jack to work on this car. This is only a 1.5 ton jack, and granted, there's probably not 1.5 tons on one corner as I'm lifting it, but man, it's still struggling. The oil change itself is actually much easier than on my 96 Tacoma or my 90 Miata, because the oil drain plug and the oil filter are actually in the same exact location, and the oil filter is facing up. So all I do is unscrew it and drop it down onto my same oil pan that I'm draining oil into, and it's very, very simple. The only complex part, again, is lifting it up. This car is very heavy. There's large side skirts that go under the car, right? They're trying to make the bottom of these cars as flat as possible for aerodynamic purposes. So there's very small cutouts for putting a jack in place. And what I had to do actually was to 3D print a sort of puck that goes up between the jack and the side skirt in order to reach the jacking point. A lot of people just glue together hockey pucks and cut a groove in them or whatever. Here's what I'm talking about. All right, I 3D printed this piece that goes under the jack, and this kind of grabs the pinch weld, and then the jack pushes on this and lifts the car up. But now that I do have the car up, and I definitely got to buy different jack stands and maybe build some ramps that my car can actually roll up on, because the front lip of this car is so low. I actually can't roll it up the ramps that I have because the lip would strike the ramp. So the only option I had was actually just stack up 2x4s and put the car on top of them, the tires anyway. I'm leaving the jack in position on one side just to assist in supporting it. And the oil change part itself is fairly simple, except I do have to crawl quite a ways under there because these motors are very far back in the engine bay, which is awesome for handling. But when it's time to go change the oil, it means you kind of have to crawl a certain distance to get there. It's a lot further back than it looks from up here even. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my oil drain pan and my wrenches, and I'll go ahead and start showing you guys the process. Now, this car takes 10 quarts of oil, which is crazy compared to most normal cars. It takes a 5W30 Dexos rated oil, so you'll see the green Dexos logo here. Alright, so this is the area where the oil filter and the drain plug are. The oil filter is over there off to the right of that catalytic converter you see, and you can see the oil pan there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and slide in from the other side, undo the drain pan bolt, and allow that to leak all the oil out, and then I'm going to take out the filter. Now, as usual, I'm going to go ahead and remove the oil cap up in the engine bay. So here's the oil cap on the Camaro. It's off now. So I'm here underneath the Camaro. In order to undo the drain bolt, I need a size 15 socket. So the oil drain bolt is right here, off to the side. In my opinion, this is fairly poor decision making on GM's part, and if you ask me why, the reason is if the bolt is on the side, when I open it, oil is going to shoot off toward the side instead of just shooting out downward, which would have been much smarter. This is going to make more of a mess than honestly what was necessary. Alright, here goes nothing. First Camaro oil change. Hopefully this doesn't turn out to be a fiasco. That was on there tight. Just the pan. Still can't turn it by hand actually, but it is loose. There we go. So here it's the normal procedure, right, where I start taking this off, and I'm very, very careful to put inward pressure on it as I unthread it. The reason for that being that I don't want oil to start spewing out until this is completely free. And here comes some really hot oil. Cool. That's draining off pretty well. It's not as bad as I thought it would be with the bolt off to the side, because it didn't really travel as far as I thought it would. But it's still more messy than honestly it needed to be. And now to wait for 10 quarts of oil to drain out of this thing, and I really, really pray that my oil pan can actually hold that. Alright, so now that this is done, I'm going to go ahead and take out the oil filter. Hopefully it's not on too tight, but wow. This oil pan has never been this heavy. Never changed the oil in the car that takes 10 quarts, so let's see. Of course it's on there ultra tight. Let's clean the surface so that it's not slippery. I was able to get the oil filter off. I had to tap a screwdriver into it, and that required me to come in under the car from behind the driver's side tire, and in order to be able to get a proper angle to do that from, then it was a total headache turning that in the very reduced space that is available. But now that that's out, I'm going to go ahead and lubricate this with new oil, this seal. Then I'm going to go ahead and install the new oil filter. Okay, so with all my oil drained and my oil filter removed, I'm going to go ahead and put in the new oil filter and replace the oil drain plug. Actually, I'm going to shift my pan over because I see little drops of oil coming from there still. Get the filter in. When you put an oil filter, guys, don't tighten the heck out of it. Just put it up on the threads. Thread it till it feels snug, right? Once it feels snug, just give it a little bit more. Make it easy for the next poor soul who has to get up under here and change this. And if at all possible, invest in an oil filter wrench. It will save you so much hassle. Alright, so that's in there finger tight, and the gasket is compressed sufficiently that I don't see that ever leaking. Put my oil drain bolt back in. Alright, let's go ahead and do this. And here's another place where you don't use a lot of force. There is a rubber washer sort of built into this to help it seal. Don't tighten the heck out of it. You just want to get it snug and then give it a little bit. And that's it. That will seal and that will not go anywhere. You don't want to tighten the heck out of that because next time around it's going to be a headache to get it out. Alright, so let's pour in the new oil and we'll be done with this oil change. So here's the easy part of this oil change. We're going to go ahead and put a funnel in here where the oil cap was, and we're just going to pour oil down there. And this car eats both bottles, so there's really no science to it. Now Valvoline has gone and used a very fancy bottle which allows you to pour very nicely, so I hope to not make a mess of this. big shout out to Valvoline. This oil cap is at an annoying angle, and it is so easy to control the flow of the oil and pour this in nicely because of the shape of the mouth of the bottle. God, you gotta love it when a company makes your life easier. They don't have to. They could still sell you oil and not make your life easier, which makes it that much nicer when they do it because you just can't help but appreciate them for it. Thank you, Valvoline. They're not paying me a penny. By the way, I have no sponsors on this. I'm just really grateful to them because they made that so easy, so simple, so intuitive. Every oil bottle should be this nice. So if you look at it, see how it has this little peak on the bottom? And it's kind of like a little lip. It just guides the oil so that it flows exactly where you want it and nowhere else. What a thought. Someone, somewhere, designed a bottle using their brain and not just doing the obvious. Thank you, Valvoline, for choosing this bottle. Genius. Never liked a bottle of oil so much in my life. Funny part is, even the way that you open this, right? You pull this tab and it undoes the foil for you. It makes it so much easier to do this. Check that out. How easy is that? Gorgeous. Beautiful design. Simple. Alright. The oil is fully filled. I will replace my oil cap. And this job is done. Just a quick tip. Before you guys use a funnel that you've had sitting around your garage, make sure the inside of the funnel is clean. I checked inside this funnel, and not only was there some sand, a daddy longlegs, which is a type of arachnid, had made a web and formed a home here. So none of that is stuff that you want in your engine bay. So always make sure to wipe down your funnels inside before you use them. Otherwise you don't know what's going to get in your engine. Look at that. And we're done. With the oil change, the only thing left to do is to reset the oil status light. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my car on. Let's move very quickly through here. See that oil menu? All I'm going to do is I'm going to press select on the steering wheel. Alright, so that's button on the right. I'm going to press it and hold it down. And when you do that within this menu, you make a click and it's back to 100. With that, your oil change is complete. Your car will be a little taller up front for a bit until the suspension settles back down. That's fairly normal with this and most cars actually, but in these cars I feel like it's slightly exaggerated. But in any case, that is the process of changing the oil on a modern vehicle, in this case a Camaro SS1LE. I'd like to thank you all for watching this video. If you have any feedback or any comments on how I can improve this process, feel free to leave that in the comment section. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, feel free to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you're notified when I post up a new video. Thank you for watching.